We're joined now by radio talk show host David Webb. George Zimmerman, of course, has been acquitted of all charges, but the NAACP says this case is far from over. David, they're now calling on the Justice Department to bring civil rights charges of some kind against George Zimmerman, highlighting the fact that this has really become a racially charged case. Was it from the beginning? Do you think this is an inherently racial case?
It wasn't a racial case. It was a local issue. It was a tragedy that Trayvon Martin was killed, that these two elements came together. It became a national case, one, when President Obama injected himself by saying, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. And when Ben Crump pulled out the old playbook, as he calls it, and brought in Jesse Jackson, Rosalind Brock from the NAACP, Turner Clayton, local NAACP chapter president, Miss Houston from the AME Baptist Church, they got together. Joe Madison, Mark Thompson, they turned this not into justice and due process, but into justice based on a black victim narrative.
Let's listen to Ben Crump. He is the Trayvon Martin family attorney, and here is what he says. He says it was race and it started from the beginning.
To everybody that put their hoodies up, and to everybody who said, I am Trayvon, his family expressed their heartfelt gratitude for helping them these past 17 months. The whole world was looking at this case for a reason, and what people wanted to see, as we all said, how far we have come in America in matters of equal justice. And certainly, as we have said, we'll be intellectually dishonest if we didn't acknowledge the racial undertones in this case. So we have to have very responsible conversations about how we get better as a country and move forward from this tragedy and learn from it.
Ben says you're being intellectually dishonest for saying that this is not a conversation about race.
Ben Crump in 2006, the Martin Lee Anderson case, black teen killed at a juvenile camp. Young pictures of him. He brings in Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, and then Senator Barack Obama. This is his playbook, which he talked about with the Orlando Sentinel. His words that he's using the same playbook. And I'm paraphrasing.
David, having said all of this, I mean, it was a racial case because when we, at first blush, all we knew was that an unarmed black teenager was followed and shot.
But Ali, in a way we didn't, because what did he say in the 911 call when he was asked by the operator? On a dark, rainy night, Zimmerman couldn't identify whether he was black, Hispanic, or whatever. He was following someone in a gray.
He looks like a black guy, which is what MSNBC then edited together to make it sound as though that was the first thing he said. And that was some of the first information we knew. So it was erroneous, meaning there was much more to the conversation.
There was much more to it.
But that's what we knew. That's why it felt like a racial case.
Right, but then it wasn't taken. Look, it's a law enforcement issue at that point, and I have always said from the beginning the due process needs to play out here. But it became more racial when you had the marches, not for justice, but for a particular type of justice. And when you look at the reaction that happened, even from people like Marlon Wayans and others last night, this is not about justice. This is about a perceived type of justice. And in our system, black or white, Trevor Dooley, a black man, 69-year-old black man, shoots a 41-year-old white man in Florida, asserts the stand your ground defense, and is back at work after posting bond the following Monday. That also happened. Where was the outrage then? Well, if it's against stand your ground, there should be outrage there. There should be some civil rights violation, but it's biased justice they want.
Well, because it immediately fits into this 1955 template. I mean, the first thing that we heard was black male, underage, shot by white guy. So then, you know, it's Bull Connor versus the protesters. I mean, it's just every cliche emerges right away. And where are the reasonable people to say, whoa, hold on, let's take each crime or incident on its own terms?
But we never would have known the details had he not been charged. All we knew were these broad brushstrokes, which was unarmed black teenager with Skittles in his pocket who had every right to be on that street was shot by, you know, at that time we thought white guy, Hispanic guy, for no reason. So we needed to know the details.
And I'm fine with that. I actually agree that we need to examine this and have the details, but that wasn't what was put forward. Zimmerman, not a typically Hispanic name, therefore a white Hispanic. Whitewashed pictures being used by some of those media outlets. On top of that, they use profiling. The prosecutor's office used profiling. Profiling is not an instrument to be used in charging for second-degree murder. They were setting up a narrative themselves. There was a political aspect. Then you look at the Community Relations Service, the DOJ unit. It's been around since 1964. It's down there, and as we now have from FOIA requests, down there spending money to facilitate rallies against Zimmerman. Right. We have emails. We have a meeting in the church. We have the firing of Bill Lee, of Chief Bill Lee. By the way, that rally facilitated by the Community Relations Service, who made it possible. They spent the money, literally, taxpayer dollars, and it's not the small amount. It's the fact that they're not supposed to be involved in this.
Became political, absolutely.